Jihu stared at the red score on her test screen, 42%. Failed again. Around her, other students were smiling or nodding with satisfaction. No one else had failed. No one else ever failed. She was the only human at the Galactic Academy, and the only student who couldn't pass a simple test. "Time's up," said Admiral Tai, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Send your results to the main system." Jihu pressed her finger against the screen. The score disappeared, sent to become another mark against her name. She slid down in her seat, wishing she could disappear too. "Jihu," Admiral Ta called. "Stay after class." The other students filed out. Some gave her looks of pity. Others smirked. Only Duri, her Novan roommate, gave her an encouraging smile. "I'll wait for you outside," Duri whispered, her blue skin catching the light. When the room emptied, Jihu approached Admiral Tay's desk. He didn't look up from his screen. "This is your 5th failed test this month," he said. "I studied hard, sir." "Not hard enough." Admiral Ta finally looked at her. "The Academy has standards. We train the best officers for the Galactic Alliance. You are not meeting those standards." Jihu stared at the floor. "I'm trying, sir." "Trying is not enough. I am recommending your dismissal." The words hit Jihu like a physical blow. "Please, sir, I need more time. The Academy has given you more than enough time. Your presence here was always a political decision, not a merit-based one. The Earth Alliance Treaty required us to accept human students, but it does not require us to graduate them if they cannot perform." Jihu fought back tears. Crying would only make things worse. "You may go," Admiral Ta said, returning to his screen. Outside, Duri was waiting. One look at Jihu's face told her everything. "That bad?" she asked. Jihu nodded, not trusting her voice. They walked through the Academy's wide hallways. Beings from 20 different planets moved around them. All of them belonged here. All of them passed their tests. "Don't listen to Tai," Yuri said. "He hates everyone who isn't from a core world." "He's right, though. I keep failing. The tests are designed for non-human minds. They measure how well we process quantum probabilities and calculate multi-dimensional space. Humans think differently." "Different isn't good enough here," Jihu said. They reached the Garden Dome, Jihu's favorite place at the Academy. Real plants from dozens of worlds grew together under the artificial sky. Jihu sat on a bench, looking up at the simulated clouds. "I wanted this so much," she said, "when Earth joined the Alliance and they announced the Academy would take human students. I worked for 3 years to qualify. My whole family was so proud." "And they should still be proud," Duri said. "You beat 10,000 other humans to get here." Jihu shook her head. "What's the point if I just fail once I'm here?" Their conversation was interrupted by an Academy-wide announcement. All cadets report to the main hall for an emergency briefing. Students streamed toward the central building. Rumors spread quickly through the crowd. The Vorn Coalition is mobilizing their fleet. They've attacked an outer rim station. It's just a drill. In the main hall, Director Kim stood on the platform. Her expression was grave. "Cadets," she began, "I have received troubling news. The Vorn Coalition has increased military activity along our shared border. While we hope this is merely a show of force, the Alliance must be prepared. All final year training will now focus on combat readiness." Murmurs spread through the hall. The Vorn had been peaceful, if unfriendly, for decades. Additionally, Director Kim continued, her eyes finding Jihu in the crowd, "All academic requirements will be strictly enforced. In times of potential conflict, we cannot afford to carry students who cannot meet our standards." Jihu felt the weight of those words. Her time at the Academy was running out. As they left the hall, a tall instructor named Han watched Jihu with curious eyes. He had seen something in her that others had missed, something that test scores couldn't measure. War was coming, and maybe, just maybe, That would change everything. 3 days after the announcement, sirens blared through the academy. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Emergency drill in Sector 7, a computerized voice announced. This is not a real emergency. Jehu and Dury were in the mess hall when the sirens started. Students around them groaned. Third drill this week, Dury said. They're really worried about the Vorn. Jehu nodded, finishing her food quickly. Let's get to the safety zone. As they walked toward Sector 4, a loud boom shook the building. The lights flickered, then went out completely. Emergency lights came on, bathing the hallway in dim blue. That didn't sound like part of a drill, Jehu said. The computerized voice returned, but now it sounded broken. System malfunction. Seal breach in Sector -7. This is real emergency. Students looked at each other in confusion. Some began to run. Others stood frozen. The drill is real, someone asked. Another boom shook the academy. This time, Jehu felt the air pressure change. She'd studied enough Earth space stations to recognize what that meant. Sector 7 is losing air, she said to Dury. We need to help. But we're supposed to go to our safe zones. Jehu was already moving toward Sector 7. People could die before the emergency teams get there. Dury hesitated, then followed. They weren't the only ones heading toward the danger. Senior Cadet, Sunho, and 4 others were moving the same way. When they reached the entrance to Sector 7, the situation was worse than Jehu expected. The security doors were jammed half-closed. Beyond them, she could see students trapped in the corridor, pounding on locked classroom doors. The air is venting through the observational dome, Sunho said, examining a wall panel. We can't override the lockdown from here. We need to get those people out, Jehu said, looking at the narrow gap in the security doors. I can fit through there. Sunho shook his head. Too dangerous. We should wait for the emergency team. But Jehu could see the fear on the faces of the trapped students. The pressure was dropping fast. They didn't have time to wait. Dury, find something I can use to pry doors open, Jehu said. And I need emergency brothers if you can find them. To her surprise, Dury immediately ran to get the supplies. Even more surprising, 2 of Sunho's friends followed to help. Jehu squeezed through the gap in the security doors. The air was thin already, making it hard to breathe. She counted 12 students trapped in the section, banging desperately on classroom doors that had locked automatically. When Dury returned with brothers and a metal bar, Jehu distributed them quickly. She kept her movements calm and her voice steady. We're going to get out through the maintenance tunnels, she told the scared students. The classroom in Section 7B has an access panel. How do you know that? A Medusan student asked, his tentacles quivering. I explored the tunnels when I first got here, Jehu admitted. I thought they'd make a good study spot. Using the metal bar, Jehu forced open the door to classroom 7B inside. She pulled aside a storage cabinet and revealed the maintenance access. One by one, she helped the students climb in, sending them in pairs for safety. The air was dangerously thin now. Jehu's lungs burned. She was the last one at the access panel when Sunho appeared beside her. Everyone else is through, she gasped. Go ahead. You first, he said. Jehu didn't argue. She crawled into the tunnel, Sunho right behind her. They emerged in Sector 5, where emergency teams were helping the rescued students. Director Kim was there. What happened? Sunho stepped forward. I organized a rescue team and led the trapped students through the maintenance tunnels. Jehu said nothing, too tired to correct him. She noticed Instructor Han watching from across the room. From his expression, he had seen everything. Later, as medics checked Jehu for injuries, Han approached her. That was impressive work today, he said quietly. Sunho took the credit, Jehu replied. Han smiled. I know what I saw, and I think it's time we talked about your future at the academy. For the first time in months, Jihu felt a spark of hope. "Meet me at training room 12 tonight at 2200 hours, Han told Jihu the next day. "Come alone." Jihu wasn't sure what to expect. Training room 12 was rarely used, located in an older part of the academy. All day, she wondered what Han wanted. "Maybe he's going to help you appeal Admiral Tay's decision," Dury suggested as they studied in their room. "Or maybe he just wants to tell me in private that I should leave with dignity," Jihu said. At 2200 hours, Jihu stood outside training room 12. She took a deep breath and entered. The room was large and empty except for some old training equipment. Han stood in the center, wearing casual clothes instead of his instructor uniform. "You came," he said, sounding pleased. "Good. Why am I here, sir?" Jihu asked. "First, no sir when we're alone. Call me Han." He walked toward a control panel on the wall. "And second, you're here because you don't belong in Admiral Tay's class." Jihu's heart sank. "So you agree I should leave the academy?" Han laughed. "No, I think you should stay and train differently." He pressed some buttons, and the empty room transformed. Holographic projections created a scene that looked like a damaged spaceship. "What is this?" Jihu asked. "A real test," Han said. "Not those standardized things Ta gives. Those tests were designed for species with different brain structures than humans." Jihu walked around, examining the holographic ship. It looked badly damaged, with fires in some sections and broken equipment everywhere. "I fought with humans during the border conflicts 10 years ago," Han continued. "They never scored well on standard tests, but in actual combat, they were amazing. Adaptive, creative. They saw solutions no one else did." He pointed to the holographic scene. "This simulation is based on a real incident, a supply ship damaged in an asteroid field. The crew had to survive for 3 days before rescue. How would you handle it?" For the next 2 hours, Han ran Jihu through the simulation. He didn't give her instructions or hints. He just watched as she figured things out, rerouting power, sealing air leaks with available materials, prioritizing critical systems. When they finished, Han nodded with satisfaction. 92% survival probability. Better than most senior cadets. "Really?" Jihu couldn't believe it. "Really? Your brain works differently than most species in the Alliance. We think in patterns, categories, established protocols. Humans think sideways. Is that good?" "In war, it's very good." Han shut down the simulation. "The tests you've been failing. They measure how well you think like us. But why should you? Your value is in thinking like a human." Jihu felt a mix of emotions. Relief that someone finally understood. Anger that she'd been judged unfairly. Hope that maybe she could stay. "I'll train you," Han said. "Every night, same time. We'll focus on practical scenarios, not theoretical knowledge. If Admiral Tai asks, you're getting remedial physical training." "Why are you helping me?" Jihu asked. Han's expression grew serious. "Because I've seen what the Vorn can do. If war comes, we'll need every advantage, even ones the Academy doesn't recognize yet." For the next 2 weeks, Jihu lived a double life. During the day, she still failed Admiral Tay's tests. At night, she thrived under Han's training. She learned combat tactics, emergency procedures, and leadership skills. Han taught her to use her human unpredictability as a strength. "Don't try to think like them," he would say. "Make them try to understand how you think." For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Jihu felt her confidence growing. She wasn't just the human who failed every test. She was becoming something else. A soldier with unique skills. Even Dury noticed the change. "You seem different," she said one morning. "Happier?" Jihu smiled. "I'm starting to think maybe I do belong here after all." But neither of them knew how soon that belief would be tested, or how much would depend on it. "Meet me at training room 12 tonight at 2200 hours, Han told Jihu the next day. "Come alone." Ji-Hoo wasn't sure what to expect. Training Room 12 was rarely used, located in an older part of the academy. All day, she wondered what Han wanted. Maybe he's going to help you appeal Admiral Tay's decision, Dury suggested as they studied in their room. Or maybe he just wants to tell me in private that I should leave with dignity, Ji-Hoo said. At 2200 hours, Ji-Hoo stood outside Training Room 12. She took a deep breath and entered. The room was large and empty except for some old training equipment. Han stood in the center, wearing casual clothes instead of his instructor uniform. "You came," he said, sounding pleased. "Good. Why am I here, sir?" Ji-Hoo asked. "First, no sir when we're alone. Call me Han." He walked toward a control panel on the wall. "And second, you're here because you don't belong in Admiral Tay's class." Ji-Hoo's heart sank. "So you agree I should leave the academy?" Han laughed. "No, I think you should stay and train differently." He pressed some buttons, and the empty room transformed. Holographic projections created a scene that looked like a damaged spaceship. "What is this?" Ji-Hoo asked. "A real test," Han said. "Not those standardized things Tug gives. Those tests were designed for species with different brain structures than humans." Ji-Hoo walked around, examining the holographic ship. It looked badly damaged, with fires in some sections and broken equipment everywhere. "I fought with humans during the border conflicts 10 years ago," Han continued. "They never scored well on standard tests, but in actual combat, they were amazing, adaptive, creative. They saw solutions no one else did." He pointed to the holographic scene. "This simulation is based on a real incident. A supply ship damaged in an asteroid field. The crew had to survive for 3 days before rescue. How would you handle it?" For the next 2 hours, Han ran Ji-Hoo through the simulation. He didn't give her instructions or hints. He just watched as she figured things out, rerouting power, sealing air leaks with available materials, prioritizing critical systems. When they finished, Han nodded with satisfaction. 92% survival probability. Better than most senior cadets. "Really?" Ji-Hoo couldn't believe it. "Really? Your brain works differently than most species in the Alliance. We think in patterns, categories, established protocols. Humans think sideways. Is that good?" "In war, it's very good." Han shut down the simulation. "The tests you've been failing. They measure how well you think like us. But why should you? Your value is in thinking like a human." Ji-Hoo felt a mix of emotions. Relief that someone finally understood. Anger that she'd been judged unfairly. Hope that maybe she could stay. "I'll train you," Han said. "Every night, same time. We'll focus on practical scenarios, not theoretical knowledge. If Admiral Tay asks, you're getting remedial physical training." "Why are you helping me?" Ji-Hoo asked. Han's expression grew serious. "Because I've seen what the Vorn can do. If war comes, we'll need every advantage, even ones the Academy doesn't recognize yet." For the next 2 weeks, Ji-Hoo lived a double life. During the day, she still failed Admiral Tay's tests. At night, she thrived under Han's training. She learned combat tactics, emergency procedures, and leadership skills. Han taught her to use her human unpredictability as a strength. "Don't try to think like them," he would say. "Make them try to understand how you think." For the first time since arriving at the Academy, Ji-Hoo felt her confidence growing. She wasn't just the human who failed every test. She was becoming something else, a soldier with unique skills. Even Dury noticed the change. "You seem different," she said one morning. "Happier." Ji-Hoo smiled. "I'm starting to think maybe I do belong here after all." But neither of them knew how soon that belief would be tested, or how much would depend on it. Ji-Hoo pounded on Han's door, her heart racing. When he opened it, his eyes widened at her panicked expression. "What's wrong?" he asked, pulling her inside. "Admiral Tay is working with the Vorn," Ji-Hoo said, her words tumbling out. "I heard him." He's going to shut down the Academy's defenses. Let them attack us. Han's face grew serious. Are you sure about this? I heard him myself. He has command codes. He's planning to help them take over the Academy. Han sat down heavily. This is worse than I feared. We need to tell Director Kim immediately. Will she believe us? Ji-Hoo asked. Tai is her most trusted advisor. I'm just a failing student who's being kicked out. We have to try, Han said. They hurried to Director Kim's office, but found it empty. A lamp was knocked over, and papers were scattered across the floor. Something's wrong, Han said quietly, drawing a small blaster from his jacket. Stay behind me. They searched the office, but found no sign of Director Kim. However, Ji-Hoo noticed something on the desk, a security badge with drops of blue blood on it. This is Director Kim's, she said, showing Han. And this is Novan blood. Han examined the badge. We need help. This is too big for just us. Duri, Ji-Hoo said immediately. We can trust her. They found Duri in the library, studying for the accelerated exams. Her eyes grew wide as they explained what was happening. You're saying Admiral Tai is a foreign spy, she whispered, and Director Kim is missing. We think she might have discovered the truth and been captured, Han said. Or worse, Ji-Hoo added. Duri looked around nervously. What can we do? If we tell other instructors, they might alert Ta before we have proof. Ji-Hoo thought for a moment. We need to see what Tai is communicating to the Vorn. If we can get evidence, people will have to believe us. His communications would be encrypted, Han pointed out. Not if he's using Vorn technology, Ji-Hoo said. The Alliance can't decode their transmissions, so he feels safe using their systems. How do we get access to his office? Duri asked. Ji-Hoo smiled slightly. I know the maintenance tunnels, remember? There's one that passes near his office. We might be able to tap into his communication system from there. Han nodded with approval. This is the kind of thinking I've been training you for. But it's dangerous. If we're caught, we'll be labeled traitors ourselves. If we do nothing, everyone at the Academy could die, Ji-Hoo said, unwilling to take that risk. That night, the three of them entered the maintenance tunnels. Ji-Hoo led the way, navigating the dark passages with confidence. When they reached the section near Ta's office, Han used tools from his combat kit to remove a wall panel. We need to be careful, he whispered. There might be security systems. Ji-Hoo remembered something from her Earth studies. Most Alliance security systems detect energy signatures. If we use manual tools instead of electronic ones, we might avoid detection. Using simple metal tools, they carefully created an opening into the wall cavity behind Ta's office. Inside, they found bundles of communication wires. Duri, whose species had natural sensitivity to electronic signals, touched the wires gently. This one carries data, she said, pointing to a blue wire. It's not standard Alliance technology. Han attached a small recording device to the wire. For hours, they waited, listening to static. Then, suddenly, voices came through. The attack begins in 48 hours, said a harsh voice. Be ready, Admiral. I will disable defenses as planned, Tae's voice replied. The Academy will be yours. And you will be rewarded with the position promised. All Alliance officers will be executed. The cadets will be given a choice. Join us or die. Ji-Hoo's hand tightened on Han's arm. They're attacking in 2 days. And they have more traitors throughout the Alliance, Han said grimly, as the conversation continued. We need to warn everyone. As they prepared to leave, an alarm suddenly blared through the tunnels. Red lights flashed. Security breach in Maintenance Section 4B, announced a computerized voice. They've detected us, Duri gasped. Run, Han ordered. Split up. Meet at Training Room 12 if you can. As they raced through the tunnels, Ji-Hoo realized their impossible choice had just become even harder. Now they weren't just fighting to save the Academy. they were running for their lives. Ji-Hoo didn't make it to training room 12. Security drones filled the corridors, scanning for intruders. She was forced deeper into the maintenance tunnels, areas she had never explored before. For hours, she crawled through tight spaces, listening to alarms blaring throughout the academy. Finally, the alarms stopped. Ji-Hoo found a small vent that looked out into a hallway. The corridor was empty. The academy seemed quiet, too quiet. She checked her watch, 200 hours. Less than an hour before Tai planned to lower the defenses. Ji-Hoo had to warn someone. But who? Todd had said other officers might be working with the Vorn. She couldn't trust anyone except Han and Dury, and she had no idea where they were. Suddenly, a deep boom shook the entire academy. Then another. The attack was starting early. Ji-Hoo pushed open the vent and climbed out into the hallway. Emergency lights flashed red. The academy's computer system was announcing something, but the words were garbled. She ran toward the student quarters. Whatever happened, she needed to help the other cadets. The scene in the residence wing was chaos. Students poured from their rooms in confusion. Some were still in sleek clothes. Many looked terrified. "What's happening?" A first-year Medusan cadet asked Ji-Hoo, voice trembling. Before she could answer, the main lights went out completely. In the darkness, screams erupted. "Everyone stay calm," Ji-Hoo shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. "Follow me. I know a safe place." To her surprise, the younger cadets gathered around her. They were looking to her for leadership. "The Vorn are attacking," Ji-Hoo explained quickly. "Admiral Ta has betrayed us. We need to get somewhere safe." She led the group of 15 cadets toward the lower levels of the academy. Han had shown her old storage rooms that didn't appear on modern maps. They would be overlooked in an initial sweep. As they moved through the dark corridors, Ji-Hoo heard the sounds of fighting. Blaster fire, shouts, the heavy footsteps of Vorn soldiers. "Stay low and quiet," she instructed the cadets. They passed a viewing window that looked out into space. Ji-Hoo stopped in shock. Vorn ships surrounded the academy. The defense stations were dark. Ta had shut them down as promised. "We're trapped," whispered a human cadet named Yun, the only other Earth student at the academy. "No," Ji-Hoo said firmly. "We're not beaten yet." They reached the storage level, and Ji-Hoo led them to a large room filled with old equipment. She directed the cadets to barricade the door. "Will we be safe here?" asked a younger Novan who reminded her of Dury. "For now," Ji-Hoo said, "but we need a plan. The Vorn will control the academy soon." "Why would Admiral Ta help them?" asked Yun. "Power. The Vorn promised him a position when they take over." Ji-Hoo looked around at the frightened faces. "But we're not going to let that happen." She began sorting through the storage crates, finding emergency supplies, old communication equipment, and even some basic weapons. "I've failed every test at this academy," Ji-Hoo told the cadets as she distributed supplies. "But Han taught me something important. Tests don't measure what matters in real war. Thinking differently does. Being unpredictable does." She pulled out an old academy map she had found during her explorations. "The Vorn expect us to follow protocols, to behave like typical Alliance officers. We won't. We'll use paths they don't know about. We'll communicate in ways they can't track. We'll strike where they don't expect." The young cadets looked at her with growing confidence. "What do we do first?" asked Yun. Ji-Hoo pointed to the old communication equipment. "We try to contact anyone who's still fighting. We find allies." And then, the door shuddered as something heavy slammed against it. The barricade creaked. "They found us," a cadet whispered in terror. Ji-Hoo grabbed a makeshift weapon. "No, they found a locked door. They have no idea what's waiting for them on the other side." As the door began to break, Ji-Hoo positioned the cadets for an ambush. The real war had begun. The door burst open. 3 Vorn soldiers rushed in, their scaly skin gleaming under the emergency lights. They carried heavy blasters, and wore dark armor. "Now," Jihu shouted. The cadets sprang their trap. From hidden positions, they dropped a net of heavy cables on the first Vorn. Yun and two others pushed a large storage container that knocked the second Vorn off balance. Jihu herself leaped from behind a crate and struck the third Vorn with a metal pipe. The surprise attack worked. Within seconds, all three Vorn were unconscious on the floor. "Tie them up," Jihu ordered, "and take their weapons." The cadets moved quickly, securing the Vorn with cable ties. Jihu examined the soldiers' equipment. "Their communicators might be useful," she said, taking one. "But we can't use them directly, or they'll track us." The young Novan cadet who reminded her of Dury stepped forward. "I have an idea. In my first-year studies, we learned that Vorn technology uses different frequency ranges than Alliance systems. How does that help us?" Yun asked. "We could use their comms to listen to their plans without them knowing," the Novan explained. "They wouldn't check those frequencies for Alliance communications." Jihu smiled. "Perfect. What's your name?" "Tayo," the young Novan replied. "Good thinking, Tayo." Jihu turned to the group. "We need to move. More will come looking for these three." They gathered the supplies and slipped out through a back exit Jihu had spotted earlier. She led them deeper into the forgotten parts of the academy, areas that predated the modern renovation. In an old mechanical room, they stopped to rest. Jihu listened to the Vorn communicator, learning what she could about their positions and plans. "They've taken the main command center," she told the cadets. "They're holding captured officers and senior students in the assembly hall." And she paused. "They're executing anyone who resists." The cadets looked scared again. "We need help," Yun said. "We need to contact the Alliance fleet." "The Vorn have blocked all standard communications," Jihu replied. "That's why no help has come yet." She thought for a moment, remembering something from her Earth studies. "Wait, I might have an idea." Jihu dug through her pockets and pulled out a small device. "This is my personal comm unit from Earth. It's old technology by Alliance standards." The cadets looked at it curiously. "Why would that help?" Tayo asked. "The Alliance uses quantum relay systems for all communications," Jihu explained. "The Vorn know how to block those. But this uses old radio waves. The kind Earth used before joining the Alliance. The Vorn might not be looking for those signals." Jihu began taking apart her Earth device. She then gathered pieces from the old mechanical room. Wires, power cells, metal parts. Working quickly, she combined them with parts from her comm unit. "What are you making?" Yun asked, watching in fascination. "A radio transmitter," Jihu replied. "Like humans used hundreds of years ago. Simple, but effective." The other cadets gathered around, helping as she directed them. Some held pieces in place, others stripped wires or connected power sources. As they worked, Jihu listened to more Vorn communications. "Hand is still free," she told the group with relief. "They're hunting for him, and there's a group of officers and cadets fighting back near the training areas." "Can we reach them?" asked one of the cadets. "Not yet," Jihu said. "First, we need to call for help." After an hour of work, Jihu connected the final wire to her makeshift transmitter. She attached a small microphone and powered it on. A soft hum filled the room. "Alliance Emergency Channel," she said into the microphone. "This is Cadet Jihu at Galactic Academy. We are under attack by Vorn forces. Admiral Ta has betrayed the Alliance. Request immediate assistance." She repeated the message 3 times, then turned to the cadets with determination in her eyes. "Now we fight back, and we find the others who are resisting." "How?" Tayo asked. Jihu smiled. "The human way. We use what they think is our weakness, our unpredictability, as our strength." The cadets nodded, ready to follow her. They were no longer just frightened students. They were becoming soldiers. And they had something the Vorn didn't expect. A human leader who had failed every test, but knew how to win a real war. Over the next day, Ji-Hoo's group grew larger. They found other cadets hiding in storage rooms and maintenance areas. Soon, they numbered 32. Ji-Hoo organized them into small teams, each with a specific job. One team gathered food and water. Another collected weapons and tools. A third scouted Vorn positions and movements. "We need to be smarter than them," Ji-Hoo told her growing resistance. "We can't win by fighting directly. We're outnumbered." Late that night, they received a response to their radio message. A scratchy voice came through the makeshift receiver. "Galactic Academy. This is Alliance Cruiser Dauntless. Message received. We are 8 days from your position at maximum speed." 8 days. They needed to survive that long. Ji-Hoo listened to the Vorn communications they had captured. The invaders were getting frustrated. They had expected a quick victory, not resistance. "They're searching level by level," she told her teams, "but they don't know the academy like we do." Ji-Hoo unfolded a map of the academy on the floor. The cadets gathered around. "We need to fight differently," she said. On Earth, hundreds of years ago, small forces would fight larger armies using something called guerrilla tactics. Hit and run. Strike where they don't expect. Disappear before they can respond. The cadets nodded, understanding. "Tayo, your team will disrupt their communications," Ji-Hoo instructed. "Yun, your team will target their supply storage. The rest of us will try to free the prisoners they're holding." As she finished explaining the plan, a figure appeared in the doorway. The cadets raised their weapons, but Ji-Hoo smiled with relief. "Han," she exclaimed. The combat instructor looked tired and had a bandage on his arm, but he was alive. "Ji-Hoo," he said, looking around at the organized resistance. "I've been hearing about a group of cadets causing trouble for the Vorn. I should have known it was you." "We're trying to hold out until help arrives," Ji-Hoo explained. "The Alliance fleet will be here in 8 days. Han nodded. "Then we need to step up our efforts. I've found others fighting back, about 20 officers and senior cadets, and I know where they're holding Director Kim." This was the best news they had heard. With Han's group, their numbers would more than double. That night, Ji-Hoo led her team through the air ducts above the assembly hall where prisoners were being held. Through the vents, she could see Alliance officers and cadets sitting on the floor, guarded by armed Vorn. At exactly 200 hours, the lights throughout the academy flickered and went out. Tayo's team had cut the main power. In the darkness, Ji-Hoo and her team dropped from the ceiling vents. They moved quickly, using the confusion to free as many prisoners as possible. "This way," Ji-Hoo whispered, leading groups of surprised officers toward escape routes. Not everyone made it out before emergency power came on. The Vorn realized what was happening and began firing. Ji-Hoo was leading the last group when a blast hit the wall beside her. "Go," she shouted to the officers. "Follow the markers we left." As the freed prisoners escaped, Ji-Hoo and her team provided cover, using the Vorn weapons they had captured days earlier. They retreated through a hidden passage just as more Vorn soldiers arrived. Behind them, angry shouts and frustrated orders echoed through the corridors. Back at their base, Ji-Hoo found Han waiting with good news. "Your plan worked," he said. "We rescued 47 people, including Director Kim." Ji-Hoo couldn't believe it. "Director Kim is here." Han nodded and stepped aside, revealing the academy's leader. Director Kim looked thin and tired, with a bandage around her head, but her eyes were clear and determined. "Cadet Ji-Hoo," Director Kim said, "I hear you've been leading quite a resistance." Ji-Hoo stood straight. "We're just trying to survive until help arrives, Director." Director Kim smiled. "You've done much more than that, and I believe I have something that will help us take back the academy." She held up a small device, emergency command codes. "They'll give us access to academy defense systems. If we can reach the auxiliary control room, we can turn the tide of this battle." For the first time since the attack began, Ji-Hoo felt real hope. The counterattack wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about winning. The auxiliary control room was 3 levels up in a heavily guarded area. To reach it, they would need to fight through the heart of Vorn-controlled territory. It's too dangerous, Han argued. We should wait for Alliance reinforcements. In 7 days. Director Kim shook her head. They're executing staff every day. We may not have 7 days. Jehu studied the academy maps, looking for a path. Then she noticed something. What if we don't go through their territory? She asked. What if we go around it? She pointed to the outer hull of the academy. The maintenance airlocks. We could use spacesuits, go outside, and enter through the external hatch near the control room. Director Kim looked surprised. That's extremely risky. The Vorn won't expect it, Jehu said. They think like most Alliance species, in logical patterns. They guard corridors and doorways, but humans used to say, if the door is guarded, try the window. Han smiled slowly. It's crazy enough to work. They gathered spacesuits and prepared a small team. Jehu, Han, Duri, who had found them the previous day, and Yun. The rest of the resistance would create a distraction on the lower levels. As they suited up, Jehu checked her oxygen levels. 6 hours of air. It should be enough. Ready? She asked her team. They nodded, faces serious behind their helmet visors. The airlock cycled open, and they stepped out into space. The academy stretched before them, a massive structure among the stars. Jehu activated her magnetic boots and began walking across the hull. For an hour, they moved carefully around antenna arrays and sensor dishes. Finally, they reached the external hatch. This is it, Jehu said, accessing the control panel. She entered the emergency code Director Kim had provided. The hatch slid open. They climbed inside, sealed it behind them, and waited as air filled the small chamber. When they removed their helmets, Jehu checked her weapon. The control room is just ahead. Stay alert. They moved quietly through the maintenance corridor. When they reached the control room door, Han peered through the small window. 4 Vorn guards inside, he whispered, and Admiral Ta. Jehu's heart pounded. This was it, the final obstacle. On 3, she said. 1, 2, 3. They burst into the room. Han and Yun fired stun blasts at the guards while Jehu and Duri rushed toward the control panels. In the chaos, Jehu saw Admiral Ta reach for an alarm. She tackled him, knocking him to the floor. You, he hissed, recognizing her, the failing human. That's right, Jehu said, holding him down. The one you underestimated. Ta struggled, but Jehu kept him pinned. Around them, her team secured the room. We've neutralized the guards, Han reported. I'm accessing the defense systems, Duri called from the main console. Admiral Ta laughed bitterly. You're too late. The Vorn commander is already preparing the final assault on your resistance. You've lost, human. Jehu looked him in the eyes. You've never understood us, did you? You thought because I failed your tests, I was stupid. But your tests never measured what matters in real war. And what's that? Ta sneered. Creativity. Adaptability. The human ability to find solutions where others see only problems. At that moment, the console lit up. Duri had successfully entered Director Kim's codes. Defense systems online, she announced. Shields activated. Through the viewports, Jehu could see the Academy's shields shimmer to life. Alarms blared throughout the station as security protocols reactivated. Attention all personnel. Director Kim's voice came through the speakers as she broadcast from their base. This is Director Kim. Admiral Ta is a traitor working with the Vorn. All loyal Academy staff and cadets, retake your stations. As they watched, displays showed Alliance forces throughout the Academy fighting back with renewed strength. The tide was turning. The door burst open. Jehu raised her weapon. then lowered it as the Vorn commander entered, surrounded by loyal Academy security officers. Director Kim stood behind them. "It's over," Director Kim told Ta. "Your Vorn allies are surrendering." 3 days later, as Alliance reinforcements secured the Academy, Ji-Hoo stood in Director Kim's office. The worst damage was being repaired. Admiral Ta and the Vorn infiltrators were in custody. "Cadet Ji-Hoo," Director Kim said formally, "I've reviewed your record." Ji-Hoo straightened. "Yes, Director. You failed every standard test at this academy." Director Kim's face softened into a smile. "But you passed the only one that truly matters. The real test of war." She handed Ji-Hoo a small insignia. "I'm establishing a new training program, one that values human adaptive thinking alongside traditional alliance methods. I want you to help lead it." Ji-Hoo looked at the insignia in amazement. "But I never graduated."